The human mind is a labyrinth of locked doors. Behind each one lies a memory we've tried to forget, a trauma we've attempted to bury. But what happens when those doors are forced open? When the nightmares we've caged break free and merge into something far more terrifying than we could have imagined. This is the story of Dr. Naomi Carter, and how her attempt to heal others' minds led to the unraveling of her own. In 2024, Naomi was at the forefront of experimental psychology. Her weapon against trauma wasn't pills or traditional therapy. It was DreamSync, a neural interface that allowed therapists to enter their patients' dreams. The technology promised a revolution in mental health treatment. Instead, it unleashed a nightmare that had been waiting in the darkest corners of consciousness. The day everything changed started like any other at the Carter Institute for Dream Therapy. Naomi sat in her sterile white office, surrounded by monitors displaying brainwave patterns. Her first patient of the day, Chen, lay on the reclined therapy chair, electrodes carefully placed on her temples. Remember, Sarah, I'll be right there with you. The nightmare can't hurt you when we face it together. Sarah nodded, her hands gripping the armrests until her knuckles turned white. She had come to Naomi after months of the same recurring nightmare. A faceless child following her through endless hospital corridors. Always just out of sight. As the DreamSync system hummed to life, neither woman knew they were about to step into something far more sinister than a simple nightmare. The dream began as it always did. Sterile fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting dancing shadows on mint green hospital walls. Sarah's footsteps echoed on linoleum floors as Naomi guided her through the corridor. But something was different this time. The shadows seemed deeper, more alive. And in the distance, there was a sound that shouldn't have been there. Water dripping. That's when Naomi saw him, Marcus Wright, another patient she had been treating. But Marcus shouldn't have been here. This was Sarah's dream. His presence was impossible. Marcus stood at the end of the corridor, soaking wet, water pooling around his feet. His nightmare of drowning had somehow leaked into Sarah's dream. As Naomi watched in horror, the hospital walls began to weep water. The corridor transforming into a hybrid of both patients' fears. "This isn't possible," Naomi said, but her scientific certainty was already crumbling. That was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, more impossible things began to happen. Every time Naomi entered a patient's dream, she found pieces of other nightmares waiting there. James Peterson's endless falling merged with Diana Foster's burial alive. Michael Chang's pursuing shadows danced with Rebecca Moore's twisted reflections. The patients began reporting new symptoms. They were sharing each other's fears, experiencing each other's traumas. A network of nightmares was forming. And at its center was something that made even Naomi's rational mind recoil. A presence that shouldn't exist. Dr. Elliot Graves had warned her about this. Or at least what was left of him had. Graves, her mentor and the original creator of DreamSync, had vanished 3 years ago after an experiment gone wrong. Now he appeared in the dreams as a glitching specter, his form flickering between moments of clarity and digital dissolution. You don't understand what you've created. The network, it's alive. And it's hungry for the things we try to hide, said his warning. But Naomi didn't want to believe him. She couldn't, because believing meant facing the gaps in her own memory. The strange blank spaces that seemed to be growing larger every day. It was during a session with Sarah that Naomi first saw it, the entity. It moved through the dream like an oil slick across water, absorbing shadows and twisting them into impossible shapes. But what truly terrified her was its familiarity. Something about its movement. Its presence felt like looking in a mirror that showed what you really were. The entity began appearing in every session, growing stronger, more defined. Spoke to the patients in whispers, telling them things about Naomi that she herself didn't remember. Things about a night 3 years ago. About a procedure that went wrong. About a memory that was never meant to be erased. As Naomi's grip on reality began to slip, she discovered disturbing entries in her personal files. 3 years ago, she had used DreamSync on herself. A procedure that was strictly forbidden. The records were corrupted, but one phrase kept appearing. Subject demonstrates complete memory suppression of the incident. What incident? What had she tried so hard to forget that she erased even the memory of erasing it? The answer came on a night when the power went out at the Institute. The backup generators kicked in, casting everything in emergency red lighting. Naomi found herself drawn to the basement laboratory, to a DreamSync unit she didn't remember installing. The machine hummed with life despite the power outage. Its neural interface cables swaying gently as if in an unfelt breeze. On the monitor, a single video file played on loop. The footage showed Naomi in a panic, hooking herself up to DreamSync. In the background, a body lay covered by a sheet. Water pooled on the floor around it. The Naomi in the video was crying. repeating the same words over and over. I can fix this. I can make it never happen. The truth hit her like a physical blow. She hadn't just used DreamSync to erase a memory. She had used it to erase a death. But trauma doesn't simply disappear. It transforms. And in the dark spaces of the DreamSync network, her guilt had been growing, feeding on the nightmares of others, becoming something monstrous. The entity wasn't just a glitch or a manifestation of collective trauma. It was her. The version of herself she had tried to erase. The one who remembered everything. And now it wanted out. The final confrontation took place in a dreamscape that defied physics and sanity. All of her patients' nightmares had merged into a single impossible space. Hospital corridors plunged into endless abysses. Waters rose from shattered mirrors. Faceless children played in shadows that moved against the light. At the center of it all was a door. A simple wooden door that Naomi knew led to the truth she had tried so hard to forget. Beyond it, she could hear someone screaming. No. Not someone. Herself. Inside was a perfect recreation of that night 3 years ago. Dr. Graves trying to prevent her from making a terrible mistake. The struggle. The push. His head hitting the edge of the desk. The blood mixing with spilled water on the floor. And there she was. The other Naomi. The one she had locked away. Preserved in this moment of horror forever. You erased me. But I grew stronger here. In the space between nightmares. And now it's time to remember, she shouted. The battle for control wasn't fought with weapons or words, but with memory itself. Every suppressed moment. Every locked away feeling became ammunition in a war for a single consciousness. Only one version could survive. The one who forgot. Or the one who remembered. When Naomi opened her eyes, she was back in her office. DreamSync's monitors were dark. The system fried beyond repair. Her patients, all of them, would wake with no memory of their shared nightmare. Everything was over. She had won. Hadn't she? But sometimes, late at night in her office, Naomi catches her reflection moving a fraction of a second too late. Sometimes. She hears water dripping when all the taps are closed. And sometimes, in the space between sleeping and waking, she hears her own voice whisper. You erased me. But I'm still here. I'll always be here. Because that's the truth about trauma. It can't be erased. It can only be transformed. And in the darkness of the mind, it waits. Growing stronger. Until the day it finds its way back to the light. They say Dr. Carter still practices therapy, though she's abandoned dream research entirely. Her patients report remarkable success rates, their traumas seemingly melting away under her care. She has a particular gift, they say, for understanding their fears, as if she's lived them herself. But if you look closely, you might notice something odd about the good doctor. In certain lights, her movements seem too precise, too practiced, like someone performing humanity rather than living it. And if you're very observant, you might see that her shadow doesn't always move with her. So ask yourself, who really won that night? The doctor who wanted to forget? Or the nightmare that remembered? Some say that late at night. If you listen carefully in the abandoned basement of the Carter Institute, you can still hear the hum of DreamSync. And in its electronic dreams, a woman is still screaming, trying to wake up from a nightmare she can never escape. Because sometimes, the most terrifying monster isn't the one hiding under your bed or in your closet. Sometimes, it's the one hiding in your mirror, wearing your face, waiting for you to realize that you're the reflection. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's the truth we thought we buried, coming back to remind us that some doors should never be opened and some memories should never be erased. Because in the end, the greatest horror isn't what lurks in our nightmares. It's what we're capable of doing to escape them.